Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Nintendo Pipeline Podcast. I'm CMM, you can call me Clay, and with me today is...
One Up Muffin, also known as Jared, which is what you can call me.
Hey, so it's just the two of us today, but we're going to be doing something a little fun. Recently, the SNES's 30th birthday happened, so we're just going to be talking about cool SNES games that we really like, and you should play them, and if you don't, you're wrong.
Hmm.
So Jared, why don't we start with you?
Yeah. And I just wanted to add that this is not historical. We're not Wikipedia. So if you want to know fun facts about these games, you can shove it. Um,
Wow.
so with that, my first game is Donkey Kong Country, the first one. Yeah, very surprising. So I chose this one because one, it's the first one. And two, I have a funny story about how I got it. Would you like to hear this funny story?
I don't know if I want to hear this funny story, but I'll say yes, I'll bite.
Okay. So I ordered a Super Nintendo on eBay when I was a young lad. I had gotten most of my systems at a yard sales, but the SNES eluded me and I really wanted it, so I just said, F it, I'm gonna get an SNES. So I ordered it, it came with a few games. It was supposed to come with Donkey Kong Country 2, which it did, and then there was a handwritten note with the SNES that said, I don't know if it works, or I don't know if they wrote that part, but they said like here, like I included a copy of Donkey Kong Country 1 that has been chewed on by our dog. So it wasn't supposed to come in there, but they just threw it in there. So I have a gnarly chewed up copy of Donkey Kong Country 1, but it's fully working. Uh, their dog really gnarled that thing though.
Oh, I kind of want to see it now. You'll have to show me later.
Yeah, I'll post a picture next time I'm with my SNES games. But yeah, I really like the first one. I think they're all great. Obviously, people I think like two is like the most reverential, but one still it's very impressive. It's fun to play. I love the roll jump. If you don't know what that is, you can Donkey Kong has a roll ability, and you can jump in the middle of the roll even if you're going like off a ledge. So it leads to very fun shenanigans. You go through these. The first one's not pirate themed. It's like jungle themed because it's a Donkey Kong game. You're a gorilla.
Yeah, imagine.
Yeah, imagine being a gorilla. That'd be pretty cool. But yeah, it's just a good time. Like it looks good. Like obviously, like the pre-rendered visuals and stuff. You know about that stuff, but those hold up. I think some people think it looks like silly nowadays, but I still really like the visuals and the backgrounds. Still look really nice.
Yeah, I still think it looks very nice too. Like obviously it's dated for because no crap, it's dated, but like I still think
Hmm.
it holds up visually.
Yeah, I think them not going the sprite route like didn't make the game hold up less. I think it's just different.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely not like if I were to think of like pre-rendered sprites that I don't like, it would be like Mario versus Donkey Kong. How they have like
Yeah,
that
those
like
are ugh,
weird.
there's those
Yeah.
are that's an ugly video game.
Yeah, they're like faded and icky and
Yeah, it's
yeah.
fun, but it's ugly.
Yeah. This I remember there was the VHS tape for Donkey Kong Country that was like, the promo marketing one, and they would like
Hmm.
go into how they like made all the sprites, and it was like 3D models converted into sprites. I kind
Hmm.
of think of it as like almost it's not anywhere near the same, but I kind of think of it as like alternate Mortal Kombat where like instead of converting like, people and like video
Hmm.
into pre-rendered sprites, you have, models being converted into them.
Hmm. And then they do really good background effects too. Rare was
Yeah.
really experts with the SNES hardware when you're in like I forget if this is the first one or later ones, but you go into like crystally caves and there's like shininess in the background and
Hmm.
the water effects look really nice with the little bubbles and everything.
Yeah.
They just do a really good job making you feel like you're immersed in the jungle.
Yeah, DK Island is actually pretty cool. Um,
Yeah, the world map
like,
looks really good to
and
this day.
the themes aren't just like Lava World, Fire, or like Ocean World or whatever.
Hmm.
They're like actual like neat
Yeah, like
themes.
is the oil rig in the
Yep.
first one or the second one?
Yeah, it's in the factory.
Yeah, that's a cool area. Like it
Yeah.
looks so cool with this. There's one level is like a sunset in the background on the world map, and it just looks
Yep.
great.
Yeah, like it's not just like jungle or whatever.
Yeah.
Like they have like the ruins
Hmm.
stages as well, which are really cool. Um I mean there's like a snow world, but like that's the closest you really get to it.
Yeah. I mean, the first
I
world is just like generic, but that's fine. It's the
Yeah, I
first
mean
world.
it's just like Donkey Kong World. It's fine. Um,
Yeah.
what's actually my story with Donkey Kong was I tried Donkey Kong Country at a Walmart when I was younger. And I specifically
Mhm.
remember the second stage of the game, which has the rain effects going on.
Yeah.
Um, and I remember being like very like blown away by that. And when I ended up getting an SNES, it was the Donkey Kong Country bundle.
Mm,
So Donkey
that's
Kong
cool.
Country has a special spot for me as well.
Mm. And is the first one the one with the lightning level too? Or is that the rain level?
Well, are you talking about the level where the lightning strikes you?
I feel like there's a level where like lightning lights up stuff, or am I
There
thinking of
might
that
be like
wrong?
some lightning effects
There's
in
definitely
it.
some levels like light and stuff.
Yeah.
There
Well,
there's that level, I think that's in two though, where you're like the lights go on and off
oh
with
no,
like a
that's in
button.
one. That's in
Yeah,
one.
you have to
The
like
on
hit
and
the on
off.
button.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
Yeah, and those like weird like things like they're like curled into little balls and they like kind of like reanimate and start chasing you. It's like really
Yeah,
weird.
they go buck wild if you don't hit the on button to get the
Yeah.
lights on.
Yeah, yeah.
It's basically
Um
Outlast, like before horror games became like the
Outlast.
big thing. Amnesia, The Dark Descent, but with Donkey
God.
Kong.
Yeah, those areas were kind of tense. I know there's one later in the game that's like very like the game escalates its difficulty pretty well, I would say.
Mhm.
I would think the one area that I think it kind of there's a bit of a spike and this so Donkey Kong Country 2 saving is a bit more lenient, I would
Mm.
say. Um, I don't know if even know if lenient is the word. It's just the where they place the save stations are a little bit more thoughtful
Mhm.
because when you get to the factory world in Donkey Kong Country 1, um, Oil Drum World, whatever, the the save the candy save station is like basically halfway through the world, and
Mm.
like right before it are like two like really tough stages. So then I always gamed over there and would end up back in World 4 with the
That
snow and
sucks.
everything. Um, but besides that, like it escalated pretty well, and the game feels
Yeah,
great. Like,
it feels great. I do think there's some like BS difficulty spikes which are balanced out by the NSO, like Nintendo Switch Online's like rewind
yeah,
and save state features. Like
yeah,
I I will defend that feature till the end because I think it just makes old games that can be very difficult much more forgiving to modern audiences and people that might not have as much patience as they did when they were like 12.
yeah. I think that's perfectly valid. I know a lot of people will like shit on people who use like rewind features and stuff, and like
Hmm.
I personally don't typically use them, but it's not wrong to use
Yeah.
them. If it helps people like enjoy stuff that they wouldn't be able to enjoy otherwise, then
Yeah. Sometimes like I something hits me from like off screen and I'm like, no, it didn't. Rewind,
I
pull it
mean,
back a bit.
at that point, it hasn't. Yeah, it didn't. And we haven't even said anything about the soundtrack, which is
Yeah,
possibly the most
again,
beloved
it's
part of
really
this
good.
game. Yeah.
I think
Um,
people definitely think of like the iconic songs from two a little more, but I still really like a lot of the stuff in one.
yeah. I mean, Aquatic Ambience is definitely like probably the standout.
Oh, that's one. I thought
Um,
that was two.
yep, that's one.
Oh, nice. It's a great
Yep.
song. It's like
I
the song.
personally super dig K. Rool's theme, which has
Hmm.
been remixed in Smash a few times now.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, great game. And K. Rool's awesome. I don't care what anyone says. I love him.
Yeah.
He's
And
stupid.
one is that fun intro as well.
Yeah, it's a very fun intro, and it's definitely like there are a lot of people who got into the SNES with Donkey Kong Country, so it's definitely like a first game for a lot of people, which I think is interesting. But yeah, so my first pick is probably the most obvious in the known universe, and it is Star Fox. Um,
Obvious to
obvious
people who know you.
And yeah, I mean, obvious to anyone who knows me or has listened to me talk for like maybe 5 seconds, it's Star Fox.
Mhm.
Um, so I had this game since I was young, because I got the Donkey Kong Country at SNES bundle, and at some point afterwards I ended up with Star Fox. I used to play with my dad, and so this game is just I love this game. So obviously a lot of people are there are people now who are a bit younger who are more familiar with Star Fox 64. Um, and Star Fox 64 is cool as well, but there's something about Star Fox 1 that's very special. And I think it comes down to the level design is fantastic,
Hmm.
um, the variety of levels and stuff like that, and the atmosphere in Star Fox 1 is much different from the games that follow it.
Hmm.
And the soundtrack's amazing. Like
Yeah.
it's so good. I'm very sad that so after that soundtrack was made, I believe the composer left video games
Oh,
basically.
just
Like
forever. What
yeah,
did
entirely,
they go
yeah.
to music or
They were yeah, they did other
movies?
music. It was if I remember correctly, it was because they didn't own the rights to do whatever with the music that they composed for the game.
Mm,
And they were like, well, if I'm doing this, I might as well, you know, be
yeah.
able to like release it myself or whatever.
Hmm.
And it's such a tragedy because that soundtrack is amazing.
Yeah, I think like most Nintendo players will know the Corneria song very well.
Yeah. Yeah, people recognize that one, but like even the ones that aren't talked about as much, like
Hmm.
Fortuna and Macbeth and a lot of the like Space Armada is one of those two that's very well known because of Smash Bros.
Hmm.
Um, but I'm curious, have you played much of the original Star Fox?
Yeah, I have played a good amount of Star Fox 1.
So have
I have
you
it on SNES.
I and it's nice too because it's on SNES Online now along with Star Fox 2, which is cool.
Yeah. I mean,
Um,
I'll say the obvious thing. I think it's a really fun game. The thing that will stand out to most people nowadays is the frame rate,
mhm.
which just takes a little bit getting used to. It does not make the game unplayable in any aspect, and like
Yeah,
it's very cinematic for a SNES game.
it is. Yeah,
Like there's like buildings falling over, asteroids going through the sky.
yeah,
It's
and
exciting.
even like the when you like go through like when you go into like those tunnel sections, how it kind of frames the screen, and when you blow up the the mothership in Space Armada, and like you kind of fly out, and there's this big explosion and stuff. It's a
Mhm,
very well like visually like well directed game. I think obviously it's simple looking.
mhm.
Um,
But I liked the visuals.
yeah, same.
I really like that blocky aesthetic, which like is back now.
Yeah, yeah,
It's in vogue
I
again.
do dig that. Um, and it's interesting because like so Star Fox 64 is most people are familiar with, so I'll talk in terms of that game. That game has branching paths, so sometimes you can beat a mission in a different way or whatever, and you'll end up going somewhere else. Star Fox 1 has branching paths, but they're not like influenced by the mission that you're on. You just pick a lane at the beginning, and depending on what lane you pick, the levels are completely different, and it's kind of framed as like a different strategy you're taking to reach Andros. So
Mm.
like Route 3 is like the back was like the like supposed to I think like Route 2 is like the back door to Venom, and like Route 3 is like just this extremely like I forget Pepper says something about it, but the game just has so many weird secrets, and like there's the black hole, there's the weird um out of this dimension with like the paper airplane enemies and the
Oh, I
slot
think I've seen that
machine.
one. I don't think I've
Yeah,
played that level, but I've seen it
yeah.
in videos.
That level's funny because like so you remember Tips and Tricks, the magazine?
No.
Okay. Well, there was like they were a gaming magazine, and they did codes and all that stuff. And so like half of like every issue was just like a code book essentially. And they would eventually release like individual like code books that were just kind of just all the code book chunks. And I remember I read in there there was for Star Fox, and there's this little column like real tiny text, and it was like if you shoot the asteroid that doesn't usually do anything when you do it, but if you shoot it like 20 times, it explodes, and like this egg comes out of it, and there's a bird and this whole thing. And I'm like, this is so wild. Like, is that like real? And then I did it, and I was like, oh man, that is so cool. Like, it's one of those things that you like read and think it's like some, myth
Mhm.
or whatever.
Yeah,
Um,
that was it was a really cool era back then where secrets were actually secrets and people would just make up
yeah,
things and you couldn't confirm them or
yeah,
deny them in 2 seconds.
yeah, and you'd have to like actually try and find them because I mean, internet obviously was very different back then in terms of young people on the internet. It was a
Yeah.
different time.
A little more
Um,
honest, a little more hardworking. People didn't lie to each other on the internet back then. There
yeah,
were no
definitely.
lies on the internet.
No one ever.
Nobody lied. It's wild.
But yeah, Star Fox might be my favorite game. Period.
Wow.
Um,
Yeah.
it's hard for me to rank games, but it's up there for me.
hmm
If you
I
have
should
not played it, play it on SNES Online.
Yeah, I should do like a full replay because I've played some of it. I'm not sure if I've beaten the whole thing or not.
Oh,
But
yeah,
and the
that
different paths lead to so much replay value, and it's just fun to play over again. Like it's not a super long game, but there's so much replay value there that it doesn't matter.
yeah, and I know like difficulty wise, the game is much pushes back at you harder than Star Fox 64 does. So be prepared for that. Um, so what do you
Use those
got?
rewinds.
Yeah, use the rewinds if that's what you need to do, do it. Don't feel bad about it.
My second game, getting away from 2D platformers for a second, because for my first game, is Kirby's Dream Course, the only Kirby's golf game ever created. So I'm gonna do what I said I wasn't gonna do, and I'm gonna tell a fun fact.
Oh God. Okay.
I don't know what it's gonna be a bungled fun fact, but Kirby's Dream Course was supposed to be a different game. There was
Special
like an
T
entire
shot.
Yeah, there was an entire video game made. You can play it online. You can go download it. It's pretty fun. That was a much
Yep.
more traditional golf game. And then I guess at some point they said this sucks or we can do it better. But they scrapped that game, never released it, which they should have because it's fun. And then they made Kirby's Dream Course, which is a competitive golf game that is not totally golfing, but it's wacky multiplayer fun. There's a single player campaign too, but you compete to hit the most enemies on the stage, convert these blocks to your color, and then knock your ball in the hole to like cement your score. So it's just the back and forth dynamic of that game is maybe one of the most fun in local multiplayer. Have you played a lot with friends?
So that's interesting. Yeah. So I was gonna say. So it's interesting because um, I don't think I ever got to play when I was younger. I never got to play Dream Course multiplayer. So I find it
Oh dear.
interesting to hear you talk about it primarily from a multiplayer perspective, because very much my overwhelming perspective with that game is the single player.
hmm
Like I forgot the game had multiplayer for a while. That's how little I was able to play it.
Yeah, I mostly played it on when it came on NSO Online.
Yeah,
I
that's how
played it
I've played
with
the multiplayer. Yeah.
it's fun. Yeah, I played it with some of my pals from Nintendo era Discord that you should
Ugh,
join.
yeah.
Um, Challenge me to a round of Kirby's Dream Course. I'll crush you.
Did
You'll
they?
never recover emotionally.
Who crushed who?
I think I beat a few people.
Okay, we'll go with that. We'll go with that.
Yeah.
Seems hazy.
Let's just call myself undefeated.
Yeah, okay, we'll go with that.
Wait, which game am I undefeated in? I'm undefeated in something.
If it's Tetris Attack, then we'll have to.
No, it's not Tetris Attack, but we
Okay.
can't play that in NSO. Oh, it was Hanafuda is what I'm undefeated in.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that makes more sense. Shout
Just
outs
on
to
Nintendo era, not in life.
Clubhouse. Yeah, shout outs to Clubhouse games.
We'll do another episode on that. But yeah,
Yeah.
Dream Course. Yeah, the push and pull because you're trying to take over each other's like squares over and over again. You're trying to
Yeah.
knock your opponent out of the way so you can steal their area. You're trying to use special Kirby powers
So you're
to
talking about when you say squares, you're talking about like after the enemies are killed, it has that little like icon that indicates who killed the enemy.
yeah.
It's like a
So
little
you can
and then
steal that
so if you
back if you just touch it.
right,
Yeah.
right. Okay. Yeah.
So it
That's
becomes
fun.
like a territory control, kind of like Splatoon and Splatoon 2 on the Nintendo Switch.
Yes. I forgot we had Splatoon 0 on SNES, the golfing version.
But I should do more of the single player because I'm most of my experience is multiplayer.
That game is tough. Like it's tough. That's what I remember most about it as a kid. I loved it. So I had all the Kirby games
Mhm.
on Super Nintendo. Um, and I played a lot of Kirby Dream Course, and God, I sucked at it. But it's really, really fun, and it's so like all the weird stuff you can do with the powers because you can activate abilities in the middle of a shot, and they
Mhm.
like, there's certain stages where you're like meant to like, hit the fire, get the fire ability, and then immediately use it to like dash across like a water hazard
Mhm.
or whatever. Um,
So in this single player, are you just trying to kill all the enemies and get to the exit, right?
yeah, so there's I want to say there's 8 worlds. The
Mhm.
eighth world might just be the D boss, but
Mm.
they each have man, how many? Hmm, I want to say it's 9 holes for each
Yeah.
world.
And then there's a
Um,
boss, isn't there? Like boss
there's only one
levels?
boss in the whole game,
Okay. Got it.
and it's D at the end. But those courses get tough,
Mhm.
and like the game soundtrack's amazing, by the way.
Mhm.
Before I forget to say it, but it's tough.
Yeah. There's not that many multiplayer courses, but
Hmm.
some the Game Grumps fans, did you hear about this?
Oh boy.
The Game Grumps fans made an entire like a huge ROM hack
Yeah.
with a ton of multiplayer courses. So if you want to play more multiplayer, download that. I think it's called like Grump's Dream Course, but there's a ton of new tracks in that.
I remember seeing that and I was like, "Oh, that's really cool." I didn't realize
Yeah.
like they were all custom. I thought they just like
Hmm.
swapped out some sprites to make it them or
I think
something.
they made like entirely new tracks.
Yeah, there's a lot of really great SNES ROM hacks as an aside.
Hmm.
So definitely explore that world if you like games like Super Metroid or whatever. There's plenty of hacks of them and they're all really a lot of them are really cool. Not all of them are like, Kaizo hacks. Um, but
But yeah, it's a great game. Give it a try. It's also surprising amount of depth too. Like you
yeah.
can curve the shots, you can like angle the shots. It's like isometric, so it's kind of 3D,
Yeah.
and the physics feel really good. Like it
Yeah.
just feels very nice.
And you can do that thing where like Kirby like like expands when you hit the button. I don't
Oh
know how
yeah,
to explain it. It's weird. He like
does that do
pulses.
anything, or is that
It
just like a
does.
fun?
It
Okay,
does actually. I don't exactly know.
is it like a break kind of?
Uh, it's not really. I don't remember what exactly how it
Mhm.
functions. But like I see people like friends of mine and who play and like some speedruns you see of it like use that extensively, and I
Mm.
don't totally know what it does, but it does affect stuff.
Yeah.
The game looks like you're doing like trigonometry sometimes because of like how it curves, like shows the shot preview. You look feel real smart.
Hmm. Yeah, you can pull out your protractor, get the perfect shot.
Yeah,
Feels good.
it
I want to
does.
play that right now. Like out
Yeah,
of out of all the games we're talking about, like that's the one I want to play like right now.
yeah. We should maybe we should sometime we should do a video episode that's just all of us playing a game and competing together, like Dream
Yeah,
Course or
let's
something.
let's let's stream some Dream Course.
Yeah, it'd be fun.
Just do an NSO championship. I wanted to do that with the Discord.
Yeah, I think that would
Like
be
just
fun.
just choose like 3 or 5 NSO games and do like a best of 5 or best of 3.
Yeah, that would be really fun actually. It's a little difficult because like you can only have 2 players in a lobby, which is kind of
Yeah, so
annoying.
you need to
But
honor system a little bit, and it
yeah,
takes time, and
yeah,
spectating's fun.
yeah,
Yeah. What?
yeah.
So what is your next
Oh yeah.
video game pick?
So I decided to go with Super Punch Out
Great game.
because I love Punch Out. I've played all of them, love them very much. Um, I played a lot of the original game with my dad on NES, and I played a
Hmm.
bit with him on SNES as well. I love the Wii Punch Out.
Hmm.
This one is kind of weird. I would probably say it's the least good Punch Out of the console
Oh
versions.
wow.
It's still very good. It's very different. So like Little Mac in this game does not look like Little Mac as most people know him. He's like this blonde buff dude.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
but the game is so much. It just feels so good.
Hmm.
This game adds the this power meter on the bottom, and if you can get enough hits in without getting hit yourself, you get like a power punch,
Hmm.
and that's how this game works rather than the star system from the original game.
Yeah.
Um, has a very weird cast of characters as Punch Out games typically do.
Mhm.
Definitely not as like compelling as the ones in other Punch-Out games, but there are some really weird, fun ones in there.
Mhm.
Um, Bear Hugger is probably the one that people will remember the
Yeah,
most.
that's what I was gonna say. The lumberjack dude.
Yeah, the lumberjack guy. Of course, he's the Canadian dude
Mhm.
who's the lumberjack guy with a big beard. Um, but the game's really fun. It's only single player. And you have the three different circuits that you go through at different opponents. Doesn't take much time to go through, but like it's just so like every hit feels very impactful. Game is
Mhm.
very responsive. Um, and if you're not familiar with Punch Out, Punch Out is more of a puzzle game than it's like an action puzzle game because you need to learn how each of the enemies attack and move and time it correctly to hit them. Um,
It's kind of like Dark Souls.
God, is every game Dark Souls now? Um, but yeah, it's fun getting to like learn, you know, how to beat each enemy. And so each circuit has four enemies. And you have a limited number of retries in each circuit before you have to start the circuit over again. But yeah, it's just so memorable. Like the music's pretty good. It's not like the normal Punch Out theme isn't in it, but like music is still very good. You get all these, everyone in Punch Out cheats. So
Mhm.
you have Dragon Chan with his like jump kicks. I think masked. I forget what his name. I wanted to call him the Mask Strangler, but that's SpongeBob. I forget what he's called, but he like
The hash
spits at
slinging
you.
slasher.
Yeah, he like spits at you, and if it hits you, it like makes your vision like all weird.
Oh, that's cool.
Um, and there's people that return like everyone knows like Bald Bull and Piston Honda and stuff,
Yeah,
but
wasn't King Hippo back?
King Hippo did not come back,
He's
surprisingly.
not. Oh, I
He's
thought he was in
not.
that one.
It's very weird because like as a kid I sucked at Punch Out, and my dad and I were not very good at Punch Out, so we I'm trying to remember if we got to King Hippo, but I remember not really recognizing King Hippo as much as other people did because I was better at the SNES version. It's generally
Hmm.
easier, the SNES version. Um, but yeah, no, he didn't make it back, which is weird because he's like one of the most iconic characters in Punch Out. Like
Yeah.
everyone knows King Hippo.
And who's the final boss of
That is so you fight so after you fight Super Macho Man's actually downgraded in this one. He's like in like the previous I think he's in the previous circuit, I think. The final boss pair is boring. They're the Bruiser brothers. It's
Mhm.
like Rick Bruiser and Nick Bruiser. They're like almost twins kinda,
Okay.
and they're just kind of these meatheads.
That's the
Like
final boss of the game.
yeah, like yeah,
Oh.
you fight one of them and then you fight the other one, and those are the last two characters. I want to
Mhm.
say the last circuit is the clown guy, who's basically Bear Hugger. Like he shares a lot with Bear Hugger.
Mhm.
Heike Kajero, who's like this weird, like I don't even know how to describe Heike Kajero. Like you just have to look at Heike Kajero and figure that one out, and then you fight the Bruiser brothers in like the special circuit.
Mhm.
How have you played much Super Punch Out?
Yeah, I own this game. I don't think I've probably never gotten past the first circuit,
Mm,
but I
yeah,
have. I do enjoy it. I think it feels really good. I should play more. This is on NSO too, right?
yeah. I think
Yeah,
it should be.
I'm almost positive it
Yeah,
is.
I feel like it has to be.
Because
Um,
I always really remember the visuals of this one. I remembered what you said. The hits feel really good.
yeah,
Not that they don't feel good in the first one, but like
yeah,
the Super Nintendo can have that extra punch. And I think
yeah,
it visually looks really good. Like the first
yeah,
one holds up well too. It's two characters on the screen. They're gonna make it look good on all the systems.
yeah,
But it's a good looking game. The characters do that. The ones that I remember look very not iconic's not the right word, but very memorable and very much like you can see who they are.
yeah,
They're they're recognizable.
yeah. I mean, Punch Out's always played with stereotypes for basically every
Hmm.
character, and they make every character is basically a caricature, and they all have a lot of personality. And I think Super Punch Out's lineup does have a lot of good personality, even if it isn't as much as some of the other games.
Hmm.
But
Yeah, I probably don't have like a punch out ranking because I don't think I've ever beaten a single one.
no, no. I mean, all of them are good, and if you
Yeah.
want to, again, we don't shame people for rewinding
Hmm.
here. So if you're having a real tough time, feel free.
Especially in Punch Out One. Like I don't even know if I could beat Punch Out One with rewinding.
Yeah, Punch Out 1 is tough. Like you really need to like learn
Hmm.
those patterns. Super Punch Out, you still have to, but like it's the game's. I say the game's difficulty in general is a little easier.
Hmm. I feel like I could probably get to like the fifth or sixth boss in Punch Out One.
Yeah, yeah, I would screw up pretty early too, but
Yeah.
I still loved it. I don't think I ever made it to Mike Tyson or Mr. Dream, depending on what
Hmm.
version you.
I have the Mike Tyson version.
Yeah, I also have the Mike Tyson version. You can't play that on NSO. You have to play the Mr. Dream version on NSO.
Hmm.
But yeah, it's a cool game.
Yeah.
So what do you got for your last choice today? We're doing three each today
Yeah,
because
we're
there's
doing
just
three
so
each today.
many.
Back to 2D platformers.
Oh, baby. I mean, there's a lot of good
Um,
ones.
and we're doing Super Mario World 2 Yoshi's Island. I tricked you.
Yep.
Um, so I chose this one just because I don't know. Everyone talks about Mario World. We can get to that later. Mario World's great, but Yoshi's Island is maybe one of the best looking Super Nintendo games, especially
Yeah.
like 2D platformers. It has that amazing kind of like crayon drawn look. It's it's stunning. Like the character work in this game is something else.
Yeah.
Those little goddamn monkeys are so cute, even though they're
Yeah.
annoying. They're annoying as
Yeah.
shit, but they are adorable and they emote so well. They hop around, they climb. Those magma dudes come out of the water look great. There's all the amazing boss effects, like the gooey boss and how they kind of squish down and
Yeah.
stuff.
They like ripples and stuff. It's
And then they
weird.
break apart. That's like one of the
Yeah.
first bosses. The 3D
Slime the
effects.
Salvo.
Was that's what his name
That's
is?
yeah, that's what his name is. Or Salvo the Slime or something like that.
Oh my god! And then you got the cool 3D effects when you're like standing on like moving platforms that are coming towards you and moving away from you.
Yeah. The game's a
It's
looker.
it is it looks amazing to this day. Like it's maybe one of like the peak like Nintendo like 2D platforming visuals. Like, do you think
Yeah.
any 2D Nintendo platformer looks better? I don't know.
Honestly, I don't think so. Like this is definitely like the peak
Like yeah,
for that.
they peaked out on 2D. It looks so. I mean, visuals aside, it's a very fun game. It feels snappy.
Yeah.
Like you get the first Yoshi jump, which feels really good, and then you get his little Yoshi kick. What is
The
his
little
name?
flutter.
Flutter kick. Flutter
Yeah.
kick. There's 6 worlds or 8 worlds.
6 worlds. 8 stages each.
Yeah, it feels big though.
It does, yeah. Like by the
It
time you
feels
get
like
to the end of World 6, you do feel like you've gone through a lot.
yeah, and there's so much variety in the stages. Maybe
Yeah.
maybe a little too much to collect, but you can ignore
I was
that
gonna
kind of
say
stuff.
this game goes ham on collectibles.
Yeah, it's like it feels kind of like the Donkey Kong Country route, where there's just too much stuff that I get kind of bored of it at some point. I'm just move on.
Yeah, so like
I don't need every flower.
what's interesting about this game, right? So compared to future Yoshi games, like Woolly World, I'll use as an example here. When you collect an item in Woolly World, like you just kind of have it forever.
Hmm.
In Yoshi's Island, you do not. You need to get all of them in one pass through of the level to
Mm.
get the 100 score. Um, so it's very interesting and also very frustrating if you're going for that,
Yeah.
because once you get all, you know, all 100s on every stage, you get the bonus stage for that world. So there's like an actual reason to do it.
And that bonus stage is an actual level, or it's
Yeah,
like a
it is a
wow,
level. Yeah,
it's like a secret level.
yeah,
It's both cool and annoying.
yeah. Very much
So
so.
that's the ninth level, or that's the eighth level.
It is a ninth level.
Okay, okay. Still a good amount of game.
Yeah.
But yeah, the
Um,
Super Nintendo was when Nintendo was like, collecting that would be cool.
and then we got Mario 64, so it all
Yeah.
makes sense.
Do you ever miss the good old days when like 2D platformers didn't have any collectibles?
Yeah, I actually, so like for example, like the new Super Mario games, right? Like they all have 3-star coins in each stage,
Mm,
and I don't mind that, but I do think sometimes the stages are too built around hiding
mm-hmm.
those collectibles. So I do like games where it's like it's just the stage. Like Mario 3 is not built around finding hidden coins
Yeah.
or whatever. There's if there's
Just get
secrets,
to the
there's
end.
secrets. Yeah. It's definitely they're both different spins
Yeah, there's nothing
on
wrong
it.
with it. But like I would say at some point in Mario, like I was playing Mario U,
Mhm.
I just got sick of collecting things, and I'm just gonna play these levels like it's Mario 3. But we're
Yeah.
not here to talk about that. We're here to talk
Yeah.
about Yoshi's Island.
And Yoshi's Island has possibly the most incredible soundtrack on the SNES. Like it's
Yeah,
up there. It's very up there.
everybody knows the songs. I can't think of any specifics by name.
Athletic is
The athletic theme. That's not
yeah.
okay.
The boss
But,
themes are very memorable.
mhm. The iconic level touch fuzzy get dizzy
Yeah.
and the
That
fun effect that entails.
so this game's interesting too because it's one of the few uses of Super FX2,
Mhm.
um, which assists in a lot of its visual punch, I guess you could
Mhm.
say. But you mentioned earlier like those visuals, like those platforms that kind of move in and out and stuff. And
They're 3D. They're cool.
well, the ones in the castle, like the doors that fall down.
Yeah.
Those are I found out there are not polygons. It's
What are they?
actually a trick. I saw it on Twitter recently. Someone broke it down, but they're not actually polygons. They just look like they're polygons. It's very
Oh,
weird.
are they like multiple sprites?
Yeah, it's like it's something. I think it has to do something with this with like scaling, but the way that they
Hmm.
drew it, like it looks like a 3D object. It's very wild because I always thought those were polygons. Like they look like polygons to me.
Yeah, that's a great effect.
Yeah.
And there's also isn't this the first game we got like Shy Guys as like common enemies
Yeah, since Mario 2,
since Mario 2?
yeah, Yoshi's Island kind of reintroduced Shy Guys back into the universe as a primarily a
Hmm.
Yoshi enemy.
Yeah, but in Mario 2 they weren't on stilts, so it doesn't really count.
Correct. They have a lot they have a lot of weird stuff going on in
Yeah,
2.
they also
Yeah.
gave him kind of like a tiki vibe in this one, which
Yeah, there's those
I
ones that have
I don't know
like
if
the
that flies as much
spears.
nowadays,
Yeah,
but
it's kind of
it's a
weird.
little bit iffy.
Yeah, but
But
they have
there's a lot of
yeah.
variety in that one enemy.
And like the bosses in this game are so memorable.
Mhm.
Like I know you talked about Salva, but the one that will always be the most memorable to me is Raphael the Raven.
Oh
Um,
yeah, yeah, the Raven.
and there's something to be said. This game is also very cinematic.
Mhm.
Even if you don't really usually think of it that way. Like the way that that sequence plays out with Raphael the Raven is like you have the boss theme starting. He like kind of slowly comes in the background, and then he like flies in on the planet, and like the music like picks up at the right moment. Like it's so good.
Oh, that's the level where you actually go
Yeah, you
around
spin
the
around. Yeah, it's a very
Mario
rotational.
Galaxy.
Yeah,
That's where it came from.
you have to stomp poles into Raphael's butt to kill him
Mm.
from the
Literally
opposite
Mario
side.
Galaxy boss.
Yeah, pretty much. Um, but like yeah,
Yeah, that's a
him
cool
and
one.
everyone knows the Bowser fight at the end is very memorable. The frog fight, where you get eaten by the frog. Um, you have to
I'll
like
have to look
throw
that one
eggs at
up.
his uvula.
Oh, that's so funny.
Uh, the music is so good, and then like you get out of the frog and he's like dead on the ground, like he poops you out. I think like it's so good. Um, if you've played the Game Boy Advance version, I know a lot of people who might be listening to this have played the Game Boy Advance version. I'm telling you, you need to play the SNES version of this game. It is night and day. Um,
I'll say I probably played most of it on the Game Boy Advance one, but I should go back and do a full run through on NSO.
yeah,
It's
the
been a
thing with
while.
the
I
Game
think I
Boy
own it though.
the Game Boy Advance version, the issue with that game or that version, and it's not like it's something that was necessarily avoidable, but it butchers that game soundtrack.
Mm.
Like it's tragic. Um, and just like the like the feeling's fine, like it plays correctly or whatever, but like the soundtrack is butchered. It does add in another set of bonus levels, so instead of one bonus level in each world, there are two,
Oh
but
wow.
the
How do you
new
get the
ones
second one?
aren't great.
Oh.
So there's that. But and adds the Yoshi noises too, which like I don't mind Yoshi noises, but they feel wrong in that game. Like the modern Yoshi noises.
Man,
It's kind of
like
like when you hear Link go yeah and Link to the Past on Game Boy Advance. Like it doesn't feel
when I
right.
think of Yoshi's Island, I think of the Yoshi noises.
Yeah, when I think of Yoshi's Island, I think of the like the noises he makes, but they're not the normal Yoshi
Yeah.
noises. It's a very different experience, despite the fact that it's like basically the same game.
Hmm. Yeah.
So if you have not played it, um, I would highly recommend that you play it on NSO. It's one of the best games on the system,
Hmm. Yeah.
easily.
It's really a great one.
Did you ever play multiplayer in this game?
There's multiplayer in this game.
So there is a multiplayer. There's a code that you can use to play the mini games as multiplayer games, like the ones where you're facing the bandit, like those bonus
I
areas.
barely remember those.
You have to like sometimes I think it's like usually like you have to collect like certain. It's like those like it's a lot of them are like there's one early on in Touch Fuzzy Get Dizzy that's like in one of those huts with the key door,
Oh.
and you like some of them are like you get watermelon and you like to like you have to hit bandit like a certain number of times with the watermelon before he hits you, and you
Hmm.
get like those items, excuse me, that you hold in your inventory. You remember that?
No.
You can get like items that are like plus 10 stars or like, what instant watermelon or whatever. And when you pause the game, you have like three slots and you get them through those like bonus mini games
No.
that you encounter. Yeah, okay.
It's been
So
a
yeah,
while.
yeah,
Wow.
you gotta go back and
Maybe
play
I was just
that.
bad at it. Maybe I never got to those.
You'll see at least like one or two
Okay.
as you go through the game. But like,
I'm sure I
yeah,
have. It's out of my memory.
like the game is just so wild. And yeah, the Game Boy Advance sound chip just cannot keep up with that game. Like I just
Hmm.
can't. Um, but yeah, use the hidden multiplayer code on NSO. It's the easiest way to play it now.
Okay.
Um,
I'll give that a
I'll have
try.
to.
You're both playing as Yoshis,
One of you is Yoshi, and the other person is the bandit enemy, if I remember correctly.
but you're helping each other.
No, you're fighting against
You're
each
fighting
other.
each other.
It's
Competitive
competitive. Yeah,
multiplayer.
you're
Okay.
just like yeah. I
Yeah, I'll
forget
have to give that a
how
try.
it works. You might not have access to it until you 100%. I don't really
Hmm.
remember, but there's a button code that you use to access um, bonus games multiplayer, and it's very dumb in a very good way.
And then that brings us to
Yeah,
your
last
last two.
game. So surprise, it's a 2D platformer. It's Kirby Superstar. Um,
Hey.
Kirby Superstar had a remake on the DS that adds new content, and that game is very good. There's something about it though that I doesn't have quite the punch that the Super Nintendo version has. Um, the SNES version has a very distinct look and punch to it that is just I think it's worth playing both versions, honestly. And I believe Superstar is on NSO as well. I
It
could be
is, yeah.
wrong.
And Kirby 3.
Yeah, in Dreamland 3. The only one that isn't is Kirby's Avalanche, if I remember correctly. I don't think
Yeah.
Kirby's Avalanche is on there, which is Puyo if you're not familiar.
Yeah, but they
Um,
have Poyo on there, so you're okay.
yeah,
You'll live.
exactly. But Superstar is very unique because it instead of it being one giant game, it's split into a bunch of different games, and each of the games has their own like gimmicks and premises and self-contained plots.
Hmm.
Um, so like Spring Breeze is kind of a remake of Dreamland 1.
Yeah.
Um, but then you have something like Milky Way Wishes where like you don't you can't steal copy abilities from enemies by eating them. You have to collect them through these statues and then you can kind of switch through them freely. Um, there's a couple of mini games as well. Most people will probably remember the Megaton Punch mini game where you have to like smash through like it's like Kirby's Test Your Might or whatever. And those are made for like multiplayer. But the game has several big games and then some smaller games, and it's nice because it's a very cool package. But more importantly, this marked a big turn in terms of how abilities work in Kirby. This is
Hmm.
the game that introduced like multi-directional attacks. Um, the easiest thing to say is that Smash Bros is Kirby Superstar. Like this is kind of the game that that informed some of the stuff in Smash Bros. Especially if you play Subspace Emissary. Subspace Emissary is basically works like Kirby Superstar does in co-op.
Yeah.
Um, the game is just it is in Europe. It's what Kirby's Fun Pack. It's definitely like it's it's a big game. Like it
Hmm.
feels big. It reuses stuff in a way that makes sense across different games, and it just feels so good. And the abilities are so good. There's such a good variety. Game is a looker. Soundtrack's incredible. There are a lot of people who consider this to be the best Kirby game.
Yeah, I need to beat it. I've done like a few of the games. I think I did like
Hmm.
the first two. I know I did Spring Breeze.
Yeah.
The second one is like there's some giant bird or something.
Yeah, Dynablade.
Yeah, I think I'm not sure if I beat Dino Blade or not. And then what is the Great Cave Offensive in there?
Yeah.
That's this one,
Yeah.
which is make the worst Smash stage of all time.
It is definitely a choice for a stage. Yeah, in Smash. Um,
But yeah, I should play more of that. I do love the older Kirby games.
as a kid, Great Cave Offensive was very, very difficult for
Mm.
me as someone who was not good at exploration. And if I'd ever attempted to play like a Metroid game or a Zelda game as a kid, I would not have understood it. Like, but there's Revenge of Meta Knight as well. Um,
Mm.
that
Do you play as Meta Knight?
you don't. You're actually
Oh,
you're fighting against Meta Knight.
gotcha.
He's like trying to make the people of Dreamland like stop being lazy. Essentially,
Mm.
is the thing. And I know my understanding is that in the U.S. version, he's written more villainous than he is in the Super Famicom version. But the gimmick with Meta Knight is that, or Revenge of Meta Knight, is that the stages are all timed. You have a timer that
Mm.
counts down. And it's not like a particularly like heinous count or anything, but it's the most story based of them because this game, the Revenge of Meta Knight, actually has dialogue. Like
Mm.
you go through dialogue scenes and stuff, so it's kind of like more of an adventure type of game. But it's so memorable. You basically spend the whole mode basically blowing up different parts of Meta Knight's ship, and it's so satisfying when you do too, because you see it on the there's like a map screen that you'll see in between levels where Kirby's like on a warp star and he'll like hop to the next place that you're going, and like there's
Mm.
a chunk of the ship that's just like blowing up like on screen. It's very cool.
Mm.
There's so much variety with a basic Kirby game in Superstar, and none of it is so long or awful that it like outstays its welcome, pretty much.
Mm.
I would definitely recommend either even if you play the DS version. The DS version has additional content.
Does it
A
have
lot
like
of people
additional games
it
or?
does.
Wow.
So the original game, you have after Milky Way Wishes, you unlock the arena, which is also a tradition in Kirby games at this
Mm.
point. Um, but um, once you beat Milky Way Wishes in the DS version, you do get the arena, but there's more than one version of the arena in this game.
Mm.
And you end up with a couple extra modes. So there's not to go too long on the DS version, but there's a Helper to Hero mode, which is basically just arena, but you're playing as one of the enemy characters you can
Mm.
pick. Um, the most significant new mode is Revenge of the King, which is basically like the extra mode of Kirby's Dreamland, um, but with the dialogue stuff from Meta Knight. It's a very interesting mode, and it adds some unique
What do you
stuff
mean
to
it's like
it.
the extra mode?
So in Kirby Dreamland, when you beat Kirby Dreamland, at the end of the game, it says like, "Hey, you can access extra mode." And it's like if you hold like up and press select or something on the title screen, it's like a harder mode
Oh,
to play through Dreamland in. Like all the enemies are like
I
there's
wonder if I played that.
yeah, definitely give it a go. And this mode is based on that extra mode, but the levels are all unique. They're not the same levels. Like all the enemies are like different colors, and like the levels are all different colors, and there's a lot of unique stuff. Revenge of the King is where Masked DDD comes from. If anyone is familiar with him from Smash Bros, he's the final Smash that DDD uses. Um, so either of the games are good. People consider the DS one to be like the definitive version at this point, which I mean I get it because there's just so much extra stuff in there. But the SNES version is very good as well, and it's free on NSO if you
Yeah,
have NSO.
and they're multiplayer too. You can play
Yeah,
with your little
so
helper friend.
that's true. Yeah, so this is the first time I think that Kirby did like multiplayer co-op. Um, and if you're familiar with Subspace Emissary, it's a similar deal here. Um, because pretty much like if you have a like if you're playing in single player and have a power, if you press the A button in this game, you can still drop powers, but typically, um, what this game changes is instead of dropping powers in this game, you create an ally out of the power that you add, and they have like a limited health and all of that. So you can play through the whole game co-op if you want, and
Hmm.
that goes for everything. Or it'll be a CPU ally. Um,
Yeah.
I believe like player two has to like press start or something when one's on screen to take control of it,
Hmm.
but it's like GUI in Dreamland 3, except you have separate health bars. So
And just remind me, is this before or after Dreamland 3?
this is before.
Doesn't Dreamland 3 have like simpler powers?
It does, yeah.
Same,
So they're
so
by
does
two different
64.
teams. Yeah, they're by two different teams.
Hmm.
So Superstar is the last 2D Kirby game that Sakurai did. It was
Mm.
another team for Kirby that handled like Dreamland 2, Dreamland 3, and Kirby 64. Um,
Oh, wow.
and that's the team. That team is the one that did some different stuff with the powers.
Wait, so
But
Sakurai didn't do Dreamland 2?
Sakurai didn't do any of the Dreamlands after the first one. No.
I love Dreamland 2. That's one of my
Yeah,
favorite
Dreamland
Kirby's.
2 is the first one by the other team.
Oh.
The Sakurai ones are Dreamland 1, Adventure, and Superstar, and then Air Ride eventually.
Mhm.
And then the other team are Dreamland 2, Dreamland 3, and 64. And they're very different games. You can
Mhm.
definitely tell
Definitely.
when playing them. They both have the horror weird thing going on, but like in different ways.
Mhm.
um, they're all worth giving a shot. I can't remember if Dreamland 3 is on NSO, right?
Yeah, they both are. Yeah,
Okay.
I love Kirby up until 64. That's kind of where I fall off. That kind
Yeah,
of like is my peak of my Kirby love. Is
64 is weird.
64, and then like the later ones, obviously they're still good, but
Yeah.
like my time with Kirby kind of ended at that point.
To me, the like starting with Return to Dreamland is when 2D Kirby started getting back to what I liked about it. There's
Oh,
like this weird
I love
period.
Return to Dreamland.
Yeah, like that and the
Or wait,
3DS
no, I love
ones.
Nightmare in Dreamland. Sorry,
Oh yeah, Nightmare in
I've not
Dreamland's
played
just
Return to Dreamland, sadly.
Return to Dreamland is very good. I would
Yeah,
highly
I'd like to play
recommend
that
it.
one.
Um,
Do you think that's better than the 3DS ones? Because I played
um,
both of those, and I thought they
it
were okay.
it depends. I think you might like Return more.
Mm,
Um, the 3DS ones, they're similar, like they're built off of that game,
yeah.
but they I feel like the Wii one just feels a little bit grander,
Hmm.
and just a little bit more just cool in general. Um, and it also does this thing again where it's the second time in the Kirby series that the powers have been like upgraded again. Like a lot of powers
Mm,
got changed in Return to Dreamland, and they kind of carried that over into the sequels. I kind of think of it as like three eras of Kirby powers, I guess,
yeah.
if that makes sense. But definitely, if you haven't played Kirby Superstar, it's one of the best Kirby games. It's easily the one I can recommend, like the most
Yeah.
easily to like if you want to get into Kirby.
Mm,
Um, you might need to rewind on the arena, but try not to. It's fun when if you're
yeah.
able to do all of it.
I'm gonna try to do that. That beat that game. I would love
Yeah,
to do that.
you definitely should. It's a good time. Very another game that's like weirdly cinematic and very like visually
Yeah.
impressive.
I
Um,
remember like the Dino Blade cutscene at the beginning.
yeah, yeah, and like even when Dynablade enters the arena, and, like flies into the screen, and like yeah, it's very cool.
And
It's
do they do like cutscenes to connect the games or no? I forget.
cutscenes don't connect the games, but each of the games has cutscenes.
Yeah.
So like they're all self-contained little things. Um, so and they actually use different styles sometimes for like what they go with for the cutscenes. Not like art styles, but just like you can there's a difference. You can kind of feel it.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, Kirby Superstar, play it.
Hell yeah.
Uh, do we have any last parting words now that we got through our picks today?
Uh,
Happy
not
30th anniversary Super
Yeah.
Nintendo.
I like the Super Nintendo quite a bit. It's a pretty good system. And there's a lot more games I like on it. Hint hint.
Yeah.
Wink.
I'm a huge Super Nintendo fan. This is just very, very much covering like the most basic ass surface of SNES games. We just kind of picked a couple that we liked
Yeah.
to talk about. So we'll probably do more of
Yeah,
this. Like
we'll probably do a guest next time. It'll be fun.
yeah, we'll have like a part two at the very least, a part two.
Yeah.
and talk
That we have
about
to make sure the
ones.
guest doesn't like any of the games we already liked.
Yeah, the next part will have different games because there's just so much to cover on it. Like we talked all about first party stuff today,
Hmm.
but there's so much incredible third party content um, on the SNES. It's just it and so many genres. Like we didn't talk about a single RPG today, and just so many of
Yeah.
those. So I hope you look forward to that. Until next time, you can find us on nintendoera.wordpress.com. That is our blog. It has a lot of community written articles. The last episode we did actually, we premiered a new one by Mary Celeste, which was a look at Skyward Sword HD. So take a look there. Um, and as per usual, wherever you're listening to us on, you can listen to us on Spotify, on Anchor, on Apple Podcasts, on Google Podcasts. You can listen to us on YouTube. So wherever you prefer to listen to podcasts, if you enjoy what you're listening to, I hope you will consider subscribing or, whatever the relevant word is.
Yeah. 5-star reviews.
Yeah, you can. Yeah, feel free to leave us your thoughts. We want to hear your thoughts. No one, we don't get many. Most people, if I talk to people about who have listened to the episode, like, oh yeah, the episode was cool, but like, please, like, if there's stuff that you don't like or something that you want to see more of, let us know.
Yeah.
I'm
And
very interested. Um, but yeah, you got anything else, Jared?
if you have any questions, ask us. Feel free to ask us questions, or we get some like opinions sometimes, especially on like the YouTube comments of like, I disagree with that thing you said. You're an idiot, and that's okay. We love that.
Yeah,
Feel free to give comments or questions, or tell us why we're wrong or right.
yeah. And if you have
And
any
thank you for
ideas,
listening.
yeah, yeah, that ultimately, thank you for listening. If you have any ideas for episodes and stuff too, we're all ears. But yeah,
Yeah, we've gotten some good episode ideas recently, so we'll have to
yeah,
look into those.
yeah, we're gonna hopefully do some more cool stuff.
Hmm.
I usually don't say we don't usually say episode numbers here, but we're at 21 now, and it
Yeah, we
feels
can
good.
take a
So
drink. Ha ha
yeah,
ha.
yeah. So hopefully we'll have some more content for you guys soon. But until next time, thank you for listening. We will see you next week. Bye.
Bye.